T1 could definitely come out and get a 2-0. I wouldn't even be surprised if Bro got a 2-0. That's where we're at right now. And the first ban is going to be Ashe. Always a good one against T1.
Yeah, Ashe has been the most banned champion against T1 this season. Has 66% of the time been banned against them. So 2/3 of games, really just not allowing that. We'll see if there is going to be a ban on the Azir here. Remember, Faker has relied on the Azir a lot when he hasn't been able to play his pick of the AD champions. And we have also seen Faker really shy away from the Yone pick just throughout his career. He doesn't really play it. He hasn't played it a single game this season either. That's another pick that's been banned a lot, that's rising up right now on this patch that Faker just really doesn't play. So another thing that if they did the research, Bro should be able to identify. Aurora's taken away on blue side as well as Rumble. Interesting to do this when you have that blue side first pick. I wonder what their angle is going to be here for first pick with all these unusually strong champions being taken away as blue side.
Yeah. Definitely pretty strange to see it, but as you mentioned, it does mean that they're probably looking for something specific here. And, well, that's very specifically quite good. And most picked, most presents, I should say. And there's that Yone.
First time for Faker this season.
Could still be top, but especially not blind, right? It's not the blind top pick. You know you're playing into Corki. This makes more sense for Faker.
It does make sense, you know, to do this rather than blinded, as you say.
Yeah.
Still could hold on to it as a flex, but I just don't think that is going to be the case in this game. Youngjae hovering a Viego pick here as owner slam locks the Nidalee. If you guys watched the Genji series, he had an amazing game of Nidalee, or sorry, Lilia, that is to say.
Yeah.
Today I'm mixing up all the names, Valdez. They need to drink more of this coffee I got in front of me. But yeah, he had an amazing game of the Lilia in that series. Did end up getting caught, and they did end up losing, but still, he is very good at this champion. And Sejuani will come through here in response for Youngjae. They lock down Envy's Ezreal first, and then we'll put this one down. The Leona is banned, so we want the Leona Ezreal lane. There's a lot of other viable lanes down there. The question becomes now, what is going to be the answer here for the bottom lane? Otherwise, you're blinding a pick here for Zeus.
Yeah.
Or Faker. I mean, if you lock a mid-champion in here, you're then making the Yone blind. And it looks like they're looking for MF with a ban on the Leona. I feel like this is a pretty good angle for this. A lot of good setup.
I thought maybe they could go for Senna, but, you know, then you're risking getting a couple of bans on, you know, Tamkan Zorn or something like that, Nautilus Ornn, or
then you have to ban
Yasuo.
Karma.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It feels a little bit awkward. You're kind of putting yourself into a hole if you only pick Senna now. And the MF has is one of the champs that actually has a decent lane into Ezreal, so feels good.
Chuckle from Edgar after we did see the Corki top yesterday come through.
Oh boy.
With the LeBlanc. So he is going to know that did happen. They kind of got a free ban of this because I don't think that was the game plan for Bros to flex the Corki top, but either way, LeBlanc strong into what they put together and will be taken away. Cassante ban also indicating that Bro are 99% sure, as are we, that this is going to be Faker's Yone. See what comes through as a Braum ban. I like that. Strong with the Ezreal, strong with Sejuani.
Braum has really fallen off, but I really like it in this spot. I do agree.
Blocks bullet time, so that's another big issue that their composition would face if that pick did come through. See what this final ban is going to be. Jace. So taking away some strong top picks here, but he's still going to have counter pick.
Yeah, he might just pick Kennen at the end of the day as well. I mean, he's definitely been very comfortable on that pick. Rel is going to be the choice here for the side of Keria, so MF and Rel in the bottom lane.
Rakan was the other pick I was thinking of. Obviously has a permafrost synergy and, you know, a lot of engage here. Great counter engage, too, to the draft of T1 because they have the Rel, they have the Lilia, they have the Yone, they have the bullet time. So you need something to break that up, disrupt it. Maybe a flank could be the way as the Rel is kind of fishing forward, looking for those engages. Maybe Rakan can find a bit of an angle. Will be a little bit tougher to play in the laning phase as they'll take the Kennen themselves here blind. And we'll see what Zeus is going to lock in return.
I mean,
or
it still could just be Yone
yeah.
in a top lane, but the end of the day, I'm not sure you really want to play that into Kennen. So feeling just like the Kennen-Gnar handshake.
I think the Gnar in this draft, with all the other frontline they have in terms of engage, is pretty strong, but it will be the Sylas to come through. So likely we'll just push that Yone into the top lane. I say that because put into Zeus' hands here on the swap. So interesting to see this. Sylas is not really in a great spot right now in terms of his power level. Has been significantly nerfed. I mean, it was reworked to make him more of a brawler, but that doesn't really suit how this meta plays out. Could steal the Kennen ult, could steal the Rakan ult. Sejuani ult, some value there.
Yeah, I mean, there's good ults to steal. I do worry about this laning phase, though. It's not like you picked it into a Gnar where you're like, okay, I'm going to be better Gnar. And, you know, I can somewhat trade against this. I think Kennens can be very annoying, especially early on, and make this laning phase hell for Zeus. So, very curious about this R5 Sylas. Not totally convinced just yet.
Yeah, you know, his Kennen ults have been very hit or miss, especially in the losses we've seen when they don't have map control. He will have the opportunity to have some Kennen ults as Sylas in this, and can close the gap with the chains connecting and pulling himself into a fight, then ult. So it's quite strong. And obviously, because he is going to be building AP, he's going to have those ratios for the ultimate as well. I do wonder how this is going to play out in lane, though, because the Kennen is so speedy, it's hard to trade with him, and he can put a lot of pressure on you. On the other hand, the Gnar can't really win the matchup without assistance here, so it would have been greedy, but at least it's a known quantity. This draft from T1 looked like it was going to be standard and insanely strong until, once again, they throw us a curveball.
Curveballs coming in from every which direction. Let's jump out of the rift for game number 1. And off we go for game number 1, as we'll see if any swaps happen here early on, but I would expect in this case to not see one.
Yeah, I don't think so.
But a lot of supports do hang out in the top brushes, just fighting for vision and stuff.
Yeah, it's important.
Although Guma is heading top.
Okay. Interesting picking the MF, but then not willing to lane into the Ezreal Rakan. Looking for a potential trap here onto the Kennen.
Yeah. The level 1 of Rel and Sylas is pretty strong. But let's see what they decide to do with this. It looks like a late invade, actually, into the blue buff.
Yeah, we'll scan wards here as the buff spawns. It won't actually commit to contesting it or anything like that, and just going to be a Kennen who loses out on having the ranged advantage early. I say this, we'll see what he can get done elsewhere on the map, of course. Not just going to be a sitting rat is going to be able to help Youngjae clear this jungle. We'll interact with Keria, as they're very aware of what is going on. So down will go this Gromp. Keria should be fine here. He'll crash his way away. Faker's first pick of Yone of the season, and testing himself, I think, a lot in this moment here on this pick that he has very few times played in his career.
Yeah, I think it's got to be something that mid laners have in their arsenal, right?
Especially in this meta where he's buffed on this patch. Yes, the ult cooldown is nerfed, but I feel like the buff overshadows that quite substantially, as we're turning the 6 into a 7 now.
Yeah.
In this one.
This time it's not into Maokai,
yeah.
But, well, we'll see how it does into Lilia, as it has been a long time, and the last player to play it was, in fact, Zeus.
In that playoff round 3 match, the winners finals essentially there, he did play it. Envy is going to try to put the pressure on this Sylas down here, as we do see the commitment of the teleport for Zeus, so he's already getting some XP. Morgan will be doing the same up here, shadowed by Palu. Demolish does come through, but with the protection of lane swaps, you can see it's not doing all too much here. Envy getting a lot done on his own, and will, of course, be happy to have the extra experience. Palu, though, needs to get down there now and start to level up himself, as it looks like the early Kennen shutdown has been a relative success here by T1.
Yeah, I do wonder how long this will go on for, because I suppose you could technically just kind of keep this the way it is and have either your junglers or your supports kind of shadow the lanes based on the position of the wave and try to stave off dives and stuff like that. We do have Youngjae down here alongside of level 1 Palu. Oh, there's level 2. Okay, he's got it. So, but Keria is here. As I mentioned before, you know, it's just a support here when the wave is going to crash. This time, though, it's Owner in the top lane, and Morgan's in a lot of trouble. That is a very easy first blood, as Guma also will pick that one up himself.
I mean, the Misfortune just has so much damage, or even in the early game, to a squishy target like it can, and just walks up, shoots him in the face, and then Owner just sweeps him up. And that's going to be the kill going over to Gumayusi, who tanks the turret, so does have to back, but that's pretty convenient because he was planning on going back to the bottom lane anyways. Morgan did have TP, something that Zeus did not, so he's going to be able to get right back to lane, but I don't think he's going to get any advantages out of this, as Keria is taking some damage here, but I don't think it's going to matter.
Yeah, he really wanted to pull that cannon out of tower range, but he will not be able to. Does give his AD carry a little bit of push towards him, so still, you know, similar effects. Obviously, Guma doesn't get the cannon, but still feeling pretty good about that situation.
The last game of Yone that Faker played was against Hanwha Life Esports in 2023 spring. He had a scoreline of 0-3-0 against Zeka's Kassadin and lost the game. So just to give you guys an idea of last time he played it.
I feel like that would have... That's weird. That's a weird matchup. Yone versus Kassadin. I was going to say, I feel like that would be a counter pick for Faker into the Kassadin, because you would imagine that the Yone should have a good matchup into that. But now I'm like, would you really blind Kassadin?
That back then, remember back then Kassadin was pretty popular with Rod of Ages and stuff.
Yeah.
So it's a different era. Like, I'm not going to blame Faker. We don't remember the game off the top of our heads, but I really just wanted to mention it to showcase how long it's been.
Yeah.
As over here, a bit of a trade.
Well, the knockup is not going to hit, and now Palu in a bit of a rough spot, gets exhausted, and Goom is just so strong right now. He's got a pickaxe, and he's going to pick up a second kill. Yeah, that was Palu not respecting the MF.
Yeah, that was also really just not it. If you miss the knockup there, it's not what you where you want to be as Rakan, and he is just going to get absolutely smashed. And up here in the top lane, Youngjae looking for a pick, but Owner's here as well.
Oh, but the flash on in, Zeus has to flash away. It's one auto away, but he gets out just barely.
Yeah, that's going to be pretty significant. No gold going over to either of these, top half of the map. Jungler or top laner, Morgan or Youngjae, but it does deny Zeus farm here, as he does not have teleport to get back to lane. Another interesting part of this, bit of an engage from Palu.
Yeah, the ult comes out from Faker. He's got Keria nearby, and he will escape with this, although the angle is kind of funky.
Yeah, I guess
just run out to the right, yeah.
Doesn't matter that it doesn't look very, it doesn't look like the right way to go. It still is successful at getting out. I just want to make sure no one else was nearby, I suppose.
The grubs here for Bro should be able to pick up all three, especially with the wackiness in mid lane. Owner not really heading towards there at all. Looks like he wants to secure an early Drake for the team.
We talked about Faker not playing Yone. Not to harp on this too much, but I do think it's quite unique to see him. It's almost like a new pick for him, right? And it was almost always played by Zeus in the top lane. I think that's part of why we didn't see it from him. But that game we mentioned, I didn't realize this was the only time he's ever played Yone.
Wow.
The only time. So again, something that if you're a T1 fan, you're pretty aware of, that when you see a Yone in the draft, you're like, that could be a Zeus, but you even mentioned it right away, as Faker is getting chunked.
Yeah, I mean, he cues back into the Sejuani. That's not exactly the angle you want to take. He is able to flash away, so he will survive, but now he's going to be down his flash. We'll see how that affects the mid lane here, as Keria is really looking to try to punish Envy. He has a extremely strong AD carry next to him in MF in Guma, with cleanse and flash available, so definitely trying to put on the pressure there.
Zeus trying to crash this wave in, will be successful. See what he ends up building here in this game, because we've seen a lot of different Sylas builds over the years, depending on the meta.
Everfrost, right? Oh, wait.
Rod of Ages, right? Oh, wait.
Yeah. Rocket build?
Yeah, that might be what he's looking at here with this early Hextech alternator. I don't want to guess too early, but...
We don't see a lot of top Sylases in our league, so...
He's going to offer him some more damage here in the lane if he hits Morgan, which is a challenge.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about it, if he's trying to be you know, the rat clone.
Yeah, no,
You know,
I mean, it
not better
sense.
Gnar, but better Kennen. You know, he just rocket belt in, just like Kennen would.
It's really unfortunate, though, that he's, you know, his teleport wasn't back up. He's significantly behind in farm now. The wave is not in a great spot for him. And obviously they don't have vision of where Youngjae is right now, so it is very scary for him. The Hextech alternator in itself is not going to feel like a big spike into this matchup, whereas the Haunting Guys actually is quite useful for Morgan to pick up, so it's not going to help him in this matchup, but you've got to buy something, right? You've got to build towards an item. It probably will be the belt, I would guess. What we will see is, you know, they lane swapped out of the early part of this matchup being tough, but we're back to it being tough. And we'll see what he can do if he staves off the pressure in this lane. Is Keria, you know,
Just give him a good whack.
Yeah, give him a little whack.
Yeah.
Not going to be turning.
Don't lose boss.
The horse in the pants thing is just really weird. I never thought about it until Atlas started making jokes about it in challengers, and now I'm always thinking like, what's going on, Keria?
Yeah, horse pants lady. I don't know. It's just I just think of it as Rel and as a champion, and I don't really care too much about the lore. Personally.
Yeah, but when you start to, like, before you just think about, oh, it's crashed down, like, you don't even look at the pants, you're like, oh, he's going in, transforming a little bit, but then you think about the pants and you're like, you can't unsee it, you know?
It's
tough
stop
to
thinking
unsee.
about the pants for sure.
As there is a ward here.
Yeah. There is also Youngjae, who is looking for the angle here. He is going to hit it, forces owner to flash away, because we did have both Fate and Palu making their way up towards the top lane here.
Yeah, Youngjae will clear this ward now. So they thought that perhaps Youngjae wasn't there, but he does show, and ends up being, you know, Zeus having to back now. Does have TP at this point. See what he does, in fact, purchase. Okay, just merc trading at the moment. We're working towards that. So no more clues, but again, it's probably Rocket Belt. As thought we might have some action here. It's been a lot of aggression in this early game.
Yeah.
MF getting those 2 early kills off of a big mistake.
It's a pretty cool Corki skin, by the way. You don't often see that.
I think it's is it a new skin?
What is that skin? I don't even know.
I think Rascal played the new skin that's really cool, but this is like a different
I thought he
one.
played Final, whatever, like Mini Boss or Arcade Corki.
Is that what it was?
I'm pretty sure that's what he played. I don't know what this one is, though.
All right,
Morgan.
Morgan.
Very cool, though. I kind of want it.
He has a really nice angle here, and will be able to stun Keria and push him away. I don't think T1 wants to force a fight here without Faker having prio into this cannon, but they're grouping.
Yeah, it seems like they really don't want to give it away. As ult into Envy, he is so low. And one grub already going to go over to the Rakan, but T1 do take control of this area. So 4 grubs over to Bro. They're going to like that. Whereas T1 will only get the 2. But another win down on the bottom lane for Guma, who's really trying to exert that pressure with the money he has.
Yeah, I mean, he has a BT already. Envy is just trying to catch these waves. I don't think he gets... this is really risky, but he's going to be able to try to get this cannon.
Don't do it, Envy.
Do not chase, please. We'll actually get this wave. Well played. We didn't see what happened because we had to jump down to bottom lane with the ult, and then we went back, and then T1 had control of the grubs. Bro just giving that up. A little bit surprising considering the position they had as Keria's looking for an interrupt.
Oh, that was close. I mean, at the end of the day, they don't find Envy, but it's just so much money going into this MF. I mean, we don't often see one player popping off this hard in many of our games, but Guma will just have insane amounts of money. He already has the BT, as you mentioned.
Yeah, I mean, he is really large. He got the kill earlier, then got the kill onto Palu. Like the lane swap kill, the Palu kill, 4 plates, and that's a product of the advantages. As we'll take a look back at this. As again, Morgan keeps Keria zoned out.
Oh boy.
Palu steals, and they're like, that's enough for us.
Yeah.
I guess they just didn't want to risk a fight, give T1 the opportunity to get Zeus into a good spot. Very aggressive TP.
Yeah, he does have almost his entire team up there, so I guess it's fine. But yeah, Zeus is like, oh, huh, well, okay, I guess I'll back away from this one, get some wards up. And we do see YoungJay still shadowing towards the top side. Will be spotted here. He's only got Carry on the top side of the map as Bro look for this dive, but Kennen ultimate available for Zeus. Not easy to dive into this one, but he is going to throw it out as the other Kennen ultimate comes out from the Kennen, and Zeus is going to live, and now Carrier comes in. Zeus does go down, but Carrier will trade one back. Meanwhile, Owner's just taking a drink.
And Palu not able to impact this play at all, and Carrier's roam is so massive here because MF doesn't need his help at all in the bottom lane. He is completely controlling this, and Palu's just late on the play, has level 6 now. But Carrier comes over and saves the day. Really well played by Zeus as well, the timing of the ultimate there. And Silas has so much sustain, of course, so it's really difficult to actually burst him down. If the ultimate doesn't hit from YoungJay, then this whole thing ends up being a disaster. So they were able to hit that, but not before the Kennen ult does go off. So really well played by Zeus. The Carrier roam really it saves the day there. Might have been able to trade a kill back either way, but it guarantees it. You can see the turret plates here. As first brick is T1's. All plates over in the bottom lane.
Yeah, and it's all solidified on one of their main carries, right? I mean, we've seen MFs really kind of pop off, and look at the damage he's doing to mid as well. I mean, nobody's here, and Guma's just... It almost feels like they're just trying to ignore the MF. They're like, yeah, just pretend Guma doesn't exist, and we're going to do other stuff on the other side of the map. And meanwhile, Guma's just like taking free turrets.
Yeah, he is hard existing. You know, he's definitely real. He's definitely hurting them. Owner is going in here.
Yeah, trying to set up the sleep on a YoungJay and get something out of it, but YoungJay just kind of dashes away and eventually gets some peel from Palu, so doesn't amount to too much.
Yeah, we did see the rocket belt complete, so that was, you know, less of a question in our mind as time went on, but now confirmed, of course, and Faker is going to be able to rebind his soul, so no worries. The Observer's trying to jump scare, but...
Yeah. And eventually, the Silas can take some good trades into the Kennen, which we do see here. A little bit unfair that the True Shot Barrage comes out as well, but Morgan just going to Slicing Maelstrom to clear the wave.
Yeah, it doesn't actually get a stun out of it or lock Zeus in place to take some additional damage, but it will be enough to at least stave off the pressure.
So Yone is definitely one of those picks that's hard to lock down, but they are able to do it with the Rakan and the Sejuani, but will they dive and get the kill? No, they will not. Faker just flashes that one off, and it's a huge committal for Bro, and they don't get much outside of the flash.
Yeah, the second time they get Faker's flash, but not the kill. He gets away. They're trying to do some additional damage to the turret, but he is going to be able to clear the wave. No worries. Up here, Owner is also getting the Rift Herald. T1 have a 2-dragon lead. The gold lead is significant here for T1, but it's really just more about what they've been able to get on the map and where that gold is on this Misfortune. And the T1 fans giving a big clap as that Herald is secured, because this early game has been completely theirs. We've seen a few attempts from Bro to make proactive plays, but it's kind of been mostly fumbles. You consider the kill on Zeus on the top side also was a trade of kills. As Morgan very aware that he is in a bit of danger as the team is rotating up. It's a bit of a scary time to go into a replay, but we'll watch this play that I was just mentioning. As Zeus does have the Kennen ult here, presses R before the stun comes through, so he guarantees the ult goes off. Then the Kennen ult comes out from the real Kennen and Morgan. But he gets stunned here, and then the Rel comes in to lock him into the turret, which is very clutch coming in from Carrier there, who has the faster roam over Palu.
Yeah. I mean, if Carrier's not there, they probably just get the kill on Zeus, but because Carrier is able to trade it back, doesn't feel so bad. And, you know, ever so quietly, you know, we talked a lot about the MF. I feel like Owner as well is really beginning to chunk. As Zeus is going to get dove again. He has Kennen ult again. This is not an easy dive, but maybe this time they get it, but all 3 members are stunned under the turret as Zeus finally goes down. As Faker trying to get this punish onto the Kennen. Morgan very, very low, and he's just not going to throw an ult in, just rebinds as Morgan barely gets away.
Small amount of health. If he gets like one more auto in there and then rebinds, that is enough to kill him. Faker, I think, thought he had enough there, but again, obviously isn't going to be ulting to chase. And ends up being the second death here for Zeus in this game. Very expensive. on the side of Bro. They end up losing the mid turret. IE, by the way, finished a while ago. I mean, like, over the last minute and a half or so ago, Uguma picked that up, so he is just so large at this moment in time. He isn't really doing a ton of damage to champions just yet, but I guarantee you that when we get to some real team fights, he will be. As this ult from Zeus ends up being so high value. Morgan has to flash after that last bit of damage comes through, and then Faker, as he's charmed here, gets that last bit of damage through. He gets one more auto. It's enough, but it's not quite. So that's a big boon here for Bro. Still, advantage T1 at this current game state, and they're going top again. Hey, it was the way that we saw the last series almost go away from D+, and now Bro's taking the same strat.
It's a Chemtech Drake, so they're like, yeah, okay, cool story. We'd like the gold instead, and they will get it. I mean, there's not much that, Faker and Carriot can do here against 3, especially when Fate's in a really nicely farmed spot himself and has that Trinity Force completed. Gonna get that Muramana here. We'll see how fast he can get that. Looks like Envy's pretty close himself. Unfortunately for Envy, we haven't really had a moment for him to really do anything on this Ezreal, just because he fell behind and then he's just been left alone in the lane against Guma over and over and over again. Yeah,
I think that obviously, the Ezreal is going to outrange the Misfortune, but when it's just a 1v1 and you're trying to get minions, Guma is going to abuse you. He's going to hit that turret. He can push the wave insanely fast. So, Envy is just respecting that at this point in time. I mean, against the IE, if he gets hit by, 2 or 3 autos, he's just out of the lane. So he has to sit back and just kind of farm it up. He can't be using his Qs to trade because he has to kill the minions. He's going to do so safely under turret. When we do get to team fights later, though, he is going to be able to chip away at the health pools of T1 because they have a melee top laner, melee mid laner. They have Lilia, right? There's not a ton of threat outside of the Rel to get on top of this Ezreal. So he will have a lot of agency when we get to team fights later on. And we haven't seen big team fights because they've given everything to T1 to try to scale. And I think that's warranted when it's a Chemtech, so you can definitely give that third dragon up for the money top side, as you mentioned. I think Envy has a bigger role to play later on in this game. We're not quite there yet.
Yeah, still waiting for those spikes on the Corki, the Ezreal. And I think that's when Bro might be ready to throw down and, go for a little bit of a lifting competition, perhaps. See who can lift the heavier weight on the Chemtech Drake. And we know who wins those ones. But, yeah, Guma's just so strong. I feel like, basically for Bro, they have a lot of CC. They have a lot of follow-up with their dive, at least outside of the 80 carries. So it should be like, find the MF and try to kill her as soon as possible. And maybe we win the fights from there.
Yeah. See a bit of a commitment here to taking out this top turret. Look at how quickly Guma breaks this one down. Very easy to clear this wave, though, as Fate. So not going to be able to quite get it, but if they hadn't reacted quickly, might have lost it. As we do see Zeus rotating up as well. T1 are going to use this Herald very late to guarantee this turret, which is significant for Baron takes, which will be coming up in the next few minutes. With the damage that this MF already has and the inherent safety she has with that BT. And, Bro are really just, this is a classic sit back and scale Bro game. I hope it's not going to be a sit back and lose situation because they have not made too many proactive plays outside of the top dives, but it's not so much of a lead here for T1, and obviously the objective lead matters very little when it is a Chemtech Soul. It's not so much that they're sitting back and giving the game up, but when we do see T1 start threatening Barons, that's when Bro are going to have to respond. That's when we're going to have to take those fights. I don't think you can just go, oh wait, they're doing Baron and run over with this comp. You need to be there, you need to be poking, you need to be chunking, you need to have a cannon flank angle, you need to have wards set up. And right now they don't have any of that, so keep an eye out for that, because once T1 starts the Baron, they're looking to end this.
Yeah. It's a classic Bro and Brew, as you mentioned.
Yeah.
What's your choice of brew today?
Just a bit of a coffee.
Just a bit of a coffee.
Yeah, a bit of like a small coffee.
I just went for the classic water. As Bro's just going to start this.
That's proactive. And
they just hit their spike.
And they just hit their spike. They just cleared the vision. They've got a teleport ward here. T1 do. They are going to send the Yone straight in here. Zeus also has TP. Morgan's on a long con flank angle. Is going to go on an even longer one.
Yeah, they want to turn here, but Youngtae's at 30% health. So, yeah, T1 are like, yeah, you're not fighting. So, and bro, like, oh yeah, yeah, that's true. We're not fighting.
Envy, don't go in on that. That's scary.
Hey, he did some nice damage in Icaria. Paulo looking for the angle. They found Owner on the left side. They still have the cannon on the flank. The flash comes out from Owner, but will he get away from this one? The True Shot Barrage will land, and so will the Q. And now we got Carry in a really rough spot as well. Guma super low as he will be taken down. Nice ult from Faker, but it only hits Young Jae, and that is not nice at all. Down he will go as well. He's so low. The flash comes in from Fate, and at least, you know, Faker gets away with his life, but man, that is a big fight here for Bro to come back in this game.
Absolutely. Gold lead here is significantly diminished. Zeus got the cannon ult. He's looking for something, and he's going to find it.
That is gigantic. I thought he was just going to go for the backing Sejuani, but I suppose this was the better target, taking out the Ezreal.
Oh, wait, he's not done yet.
Mega Cone? He's going back in. He's got an ult, and well, he's 1v3, so he's just dead.
Okay, well,
it looks very cool, but that was not cool in the end.
Yeah, it looked really cool in the first one. The second one looks very scary, and then
it's hard to out-cool the Bros. I mean, I understand. He's just really trying to make up for some lost time.
Sure. All right, we'll watch this again. So I was scared about Envy going in here, but there's really just no one to catch him, you know, outside of the Yone ulting in, but that's too risky. Paulo ends up finding Owner here, as T1, I think, really thought, oh, okay, we called their bluff, we walk away, but they were very split on the back off. Guma has to flash here, is ulted, cleanses to then ult himself, but he's just so low that he dies before he can do meaningful damage, as when we get the jump cut like that, it always scares me. But do it just have Zeus still on the respawn. I feel like T1 definitely could have been a little bit more careful with how they walked out of that one, but Bro, now going to set up again.
And you see Faker's gone for a trade here on a Young Jae. The rest of the team not really in position to punish Faker's Unbound Soul, so he just hops back. Now Palu is in no man's land, but due to Mega Cones, he's actually going to get away. So
calculated.
That's one way to use the Chemtech Rift. Don't even mind it.
There you go. I don't think they can start this off just yet, though. Young Jae does not have Warmogs, and Envy barely able to get over the wall there. Doesn't have Flash. Paulu's just constantly setting up these flank wards. Morgan doesn't have TP just yet, but that could be relevant later.
Yeah.
It's not seen. T1 are going to say, all right, well, we'll take the Chemtech Soul. Some of those extra resistances and damage numbers will still be valuable for them. They'll also get the Elder spawning, as Envy's going to try for the steal. When you look at this setup here for Bro, they're removing a lot of T1's vision. Like, T1 don't get this dragon for free. It is going to cost them a lot of Baron control. They still have this Scuttle Crab. Can't see the cannon, though.
Yeah, I mean, they could start it, but at the end of the day, T1 are right there. So, yeah, definitely looking for the turn, and T1 have recognized this. Carry this time, he is going to keep an eye on Palu. So, it really feels like Bro are reading from one playbook. Well, they've got this playbook that's got like two plays, you know? And T1 are kind of reading it. As now we're going to get the sleep down onto Fate. He's in a lot of trouble as the Mega Cone gets him away. And, well, he's just going to die anyway to the MFL zoning. And down he goes, as I was about to lose my mind.
Well, I think that they probably wouldn't have tried to make that play or that flank happen without the Mega Cone. So in this case, I'm like,
I hope so.
I think you're warranted in a little bit of anger here, but I think they definitely knew that they could try to use that to get out. Paulo tries to come in and actually get both of them out instantly, and it is relatively successful there because Paulo is operating on this cone. So if Fate gets collapsed on, he has the cone to get out. I think they definitely did this intentionally, but ultimately still get caught here, and Young Jae has to come over and try to bail them out, and Fate is caught by the MFL. I mean, you can tell by the fact that he's putting damage in Owner there. He knows the cone is so wide that he's definitely going to die. But I like the proactivity or Bro activity here we're seeing from Bro trying to set traps for T1. But T1 are the gods of Baron turns and Baron setups, so they're just not going to really get caught off guard by any of this. And the flanks of the Rakan, the cannon flanks, T1 are very aware of these possibilities. They also knew Morgan didn't have teleport, so handling the pressure very well.
Yeah.
But I will give credit to Bro for the setups they've attempted.
For sure. I mean, it just feels like it's a little bit predictable. You know, they're setting up vision. They're trying to get flanks. It's exactly what this comp wants to do. I feel like a lot of credit should be given because some teams, they draft comps like this and they're like, we're just going to go fight them. They don't set stuff up like this, which really angers us as casters. But these guys, the Bros, they're like, hey, we know what we're doing. We want to get that cannon in position. We want to get that Rakan in position. We want to get these flanks off because that's the best way to get to the MF. That's the best way to punish a Yone that goes a bit too far. and to avoid any of the engage from like a Rel and a Sylas. So
now T1 are going to clear some vision up here. Faker does have teleport, and the MF is sitting on the RFC. We'll have a 4th item fairly soon. So a lot of damage you put into this with the Leandries on 2 players as well. You know, if you end up grouping as 5, T1 could rush this Baron so quickly that Bro need to constantly be vigilant. The Scuttle Crab is so valuable in this moment because they could see the approach, the setups here for T1. Teleports back up for Morgan. So, you know, looking at flank wards here, there's not great ones on the back of the Baron pit. They were able to clear the wards that were set up earlier. And it looks like we're just going to continue to trade vision here on Baron until Elder spawns. Like, that's how it's looking like this game is going to go, and I feel like that favors T1 here as long as they do their due diligence on vision control, and so far they are.
Yeah, I mean, they have a lot of decent ways to tech brushes. You know, you got the Make It Rain, you've got bowling balls from the Lilia, you have the Rel, who's decently tanky, can kind of frontline and kind of put her face in there and see what she can see, clear out some of the vision. So even when Bro do have control of the brushes, there are ways. On the side of Bro, they have Corki and Ezreal, so a lot of poke, a lot of ways to check brushes themselves.
And right now, Bro are really heavily investing into control wards as well. Like, they're basically constantly building all their inventories because they know that they need to have a way for this cannon to get in, and they need to make sure T1 can't see where they are. As Faker, greedy choice from Keria.
Yeah, trying to engage onto Keria with the Mega Cone denial. The escape cone, Mega Cone denial. It doesn't quite work, as that's still Rel with exhaust and flash. So
Zeus, I don't think he should get a punish here. He's going for it.
He's got the slicing maelstrom. He's going to get in there. The TP will be channeled by Fate, but can he get here on time? The True Shot Barrage does help do a bit of damage here to Zeus. Can he get out? He's going back in. He's got MF, and that's going to force the flash out of Fate, but here comes Envy. Will clean up the kill onto Zeus. As a kind of crazy fight in the bottom lane.
Morgan decides not to flash there, and I think the idea is potentially thinking either A, he's going to get out of there, which I don't think he ever really was, or B, just thinks the flash is going to be more valuable for the Elder fight in 90 seconds when he does respawn. He will have his ultimate back up and available there as well. So Zeus now down flashes Envy. Is going to avoid this.
Yeah, just trying to get some harass down onto Envy. Another bowling ball is going to hit. And, you know, just trying to push Envy out of this one. But the issue with this is that Envy has BT, so doesn't really do much, right? Unless they were immediately going to rush for the Baron.
And even with the nerf cooldown, Faker should have his ult back up for the Elder fight.
It's very low on the unit.
Yeah, it's nerfed, but it's still pretty low. So
that's why I got nerfed.
Yeah, it's not like the end of the world. But the lack of flash for Zeus actually could be significant. So let's watch this again. As Zeus comes in here, hijacks the Kennen ultimate. That's going to put that on cooldown as well, the ability to get the Kennen ultimate. And then Morgan dashes away. He has to flash for the kill here, knowing that Fate is here. He's still going to end up going down and loses his flash for the play. So that's pretty concerning. I think it was a good idea to try to go in on the Kennen, but what he loses in return, the flash, the hijack, and the arm guard, it's really high cost right before the most important fight of the game. So it looked cool, but maybe ultimately an error as Morgan has Banana Brush control.
Yeah, that's a stun down on the Keria, but again, it's Rel, so they're not overcommitting for that. But a nice chunk, at least, done here by Morgan, as they're trying to set up all the vision, trying to contain control of that bottom river, and right now it is going all the way of Bro. In terms of wave clear, I feel like the Corki and Ezreal are going to be pretty fantastic at doing that from a safe distance. As here goes Faker in on a Morgan, who is going to take a huge chunk already. Going to spot him on the flank, as Faker, though, is going to get flashed on, and he gets away. Palu not able to connect onto the Yone.
Faker down.
Start up the Dragon here for T1.
Faker down flash, I was going to say, but not ult, and then that happened. So he's down ult as well. Envy here, level 16, looking for the flanking cannon. Morgan's coming over on the left side. Can they sandwich T1? Zeus holding guard. I don't think they can get in. Youngjae
going to get this one started, but Keria on the counter engage. Catches two, and Fate and Ezreal here. Envy just both get clobbered on the backside of that one. T1 absolutely clean up. It's a triple for Owner. So as I said at the beginning, just very quietly having a consistent game.
And it's just a disastrous fight for Bro. They put the cannon so far away. And then T1 have the easy call as Youngjae goes in. They set up the engage for them. They don't need a Yone. All they need is Keria. And T1 win the fight, win the Elder, and will take game one. pretty slow and steady wins the race here by T1. As Paulo is the only one who could watch on as the Nexus falls. Not T1's flashiest game, but they get it done in the end.
They get the job done. Just wait until the Elder spawns. You spawn it with the Elder spawner, of course, which is Chemtech Soul, which literally nobody cared about in this game. And they got the Elder, and they took the fight on it. Bro, I feel like, again, they just kept going back to some set plays, what works for them, what works for their comp, but unfortunately, at the end of the day, the execution not quite there. It felt like every time they saw Faker, it was really that Faker taunt button where it's like, we gotta isolate this guy, we gotta kill him, but then you just don't have Rakan ult for the Elder fight. So definitely something, I think, for the bros to go back and try to look over.
Faker on his second game of Yone here in the LCK. You know, I like to see he's pushing the diversity because that champ is going to be so relevant in playoffs. A good look here for T1, their first win since the Gen.G loss.
Absolutely. Well, you see 3 guys in the booth for Bro. I'm not sure what's going on there, as it was just a massive fall off once it got to that last fight. So maybe Edgar said, well, that wasn't the fight, guys. You were doing well until then. That's all I got to say.
Yeah.
Because that's kind of what the game felt like.
Yeah, I did feel that way, as we just really didn't see Bro have the coordinated fight that this team comp can utilize. Very split up in that last one.
Absolutely. Well, that was game number 1. We're going to take a break and have the space. We'll be right back.
나랑 보여. 여기 코르케. 걔네는? 걔네는 안 빠져 아무. 걔네 뒤에 내가 갈게. 라칸 누구냐? 오른쪽에 라칸. 확인. 내가 라칸 쪽 볼게. 걔네 마크 되지. 아 마크 돼. 천천히 볼게 내가. 라칸. 얼마. 라칸 잡았어. 뒤에도 괜찮아. 아래 봐줘. 잡았어. 미드 가자.
Pretty nice, you know, minus the Yone ult and all that stuff. But I think if we go to another game that has close margins like that, perhaps Bro can succeed the second time around, but T1 will, of course, have side selection in Game 3 if we get to it, so now having that disadvantage with T1 taking the red side win in Game 1. A Renekton ban to come through towards Morgan. See this a lot against Bro. Maokai gone again. Same weird blue side Aurora Rumble bans.
No Ashe ban.
No Lilia. They voted jungle for POG in this draft.
Bro have made their vote clear, and that's really the only vote that matters. And it's actually T1 to ban away Ashe then. They say, well, we're not going to give you a chance to pick Ashe. Not sure if they were going to, but either way, Corki first pick does remain the same.
I wonder if Faker is going to go to the Yone again. I think looked a little bit uncomfortable in the game. Had some good escapes from some of the engages onto him. So they go Sejuani and Yone. There's some extra synergy there, of course. So certainly could be a strong rotation here in the draft. And maybe he has something else prepared or planned. Yeah, double jungle would be interesting.
Sejuani mid, obviously, Wolf.
Yeah, absorb that Corki Gatling gun. I've got a lot of resistance to shred this. I can't reach him, though.
I mean, Faker could maybe play Viego mid. There was a lot of nodding, so I was getting a bit worried, really trying to grasp at straws. And thankfully, we don't have to see Viego mid. It is just going to be MF. And Guma did look very comfortable on that in Game 1, so it's just coming back.
This time, Leona isn't banned, though. So you can just go Ezreal Leona here and feel a lot better about shutting down that MF. Or just go Poppy. So that is a very interesting pick here. We don't really associate Poppy with our East Side teams as being a strong jungle pick. It's technically still a flex, but it's more players like Owner, Peanut, Canyon occasionally who pick this one up and dominate the early game with it. So a little bit surprised to see this. But I like it. It's a strong pick. It's strong into Yone as well, which will be the lock-in once again for Faker. So very similar draft here for T1, but the Sejuani does give Faker a little bit more power in the lane. And as we mentioned in game one, it still could be played by Zeus.
Yeah. The Yone into Poppy and the Sejuani into Poppy, not exactly the most comfortable, but can definitely still set up plays, and the Poppy maybe absorbs the first brunt of it, but she's not going to be able to protect the entire team the entire time. So
I think the fact that LeBlanc is so strong into Yone is why we're seeing, it's not like, oh, Corki top is a thing, so we can play LeBlanc. It's just that they don't want to deal with the LeBlanc matchup, which kind of tells you this is going mid. Kennen is banned this time, and they could have banned the Leona. That's still up and available. That definitely could be what the bottom lane looks like here for OK Savings Bank. Brion, once again, Cassante is banned. And we'll see what that final ban is going to be. With the Kennen ban, I don't think he banned Silas, but could ban Gnar. Yeah, that's fair, ban, if they're going to blind it.
I feel like you can just pick Leona here if you'd like to deny it. Rel has been pretty strong for Keria, so they're just going to lock that one in instead. They say, go ahead, play Leona if you'd like. And of course, they will save the potential flex of Yone or just the R5 counter pick of the top lane for Zeus.
Yeah, do think that's really safe bet here. Leona, it feels like a given here, but the Braum is also available this time around. Be quite strong into the lane. Not as great in engage, but you have a Poppy here in this draft as well. The level 1 is incredibly powerful. Even if there's going to be a lane swap, for example, like we saw in game 1, the Braum often does excel at shutting that down or getting a huge advantage. As Jax to be hovered here for Morgan.
Yeah, I mean, there have been a lot of things banned out in the top lane, so it does leave you in kind of a weird spot.
There's not a safe blind pick.
Yeah.
Just period.
No Gnar, no Cannon, no Renekton, no Cassante, Rumble, Aurora.
There's no safe ranged pick into the Jax because Twisted Fate's kind of countered. I guess this is your best
Jace
bet.
Would be the only thing.
Yeah, I think it's your best bet. And
it feels like very weird with this comp.
You don't have a lot of ways to set up for poke. So it is quite awkward. It feels very gankable as well. GP is actually the answer. I feel like GP is way better. Ooh. I kind of forgot about GP, but they're going to go for the Jace instead. I think Zeus is perhaps more comfortable with this pick. It does have some synergy with the Sejuani. So does the GP, but anyways. The Yone Jace setup here is very awkward. You can just chip away at health bars and then Rel goes in and the Misfortune kills everybody instantly, but you still have to play into the Braum. The Braum is going to be able to block a lot of that damage. You have the Poppy to threaten any pushing lane, so if Zeus tries to get ahead, he will be under threat of this Poppy. Poppy's great into Yone, as we've discussed many a time.
Yeah, I guess the Jace should have a good time into the Jax. And, that's been a thing that T1 have played for many a time. Is, okay, we're just going to win lane, and we're just going to win the game because we're just better. And based off of Game 1, we didn't have a lot of gaming, but from the few team fights we had, outside of the weird messiness, T1 did look like the better team, and this is kind of their go-to in their strategy book. So it's comfort for Zeus. You just put him on it. You say, okay, go ahead, win lane, and we'll make it work.
I was going to say in a different way, basically what you just said, in that I think nameplate's off. I actually like Bro's comp more. I do think it has a lot of power with the Poppy in the early game. We'll see if it can handle lane swaps. I think that we probably won't see one in this game, but the Braum can really mess that up. So level 1 is incredibly strong, but we have the nameplates on, in fact. And it's the T1 that, yes, lost to Nongsha, but did win Game 1 in this series. Looked like by far the stronger, more coordinated team. And I think they should be able to get it done with this draft in Game 2.
Well, let's see what happens as we hop into the Rift for Game 2. Game number 2 coming on in. Faker playing his third game of Yone in the LCK ever. As was mentioned before, if you missed it, his first game was in 2023 spring into Zeka's Kassadin.
Yeah.
And it lost. And his second game was the first game of this series.
That's right. So doubling up here. Very strong pick in this meta. I think you have to be versatile enough to play it if you're going to be a top contender in playoffs. Great ward setup here with the Braum. They can use the level 1 to get this line of wards. They have full vision on lane swaps, on where the jungle is going to path. I don't think Guma can skirt this. Will be seen. Right?
Yeah, there's just no way to get past those 2 wards.
I got tricked by the toggle, though. I was like, I'm pretty sure they see him. There's no way he actually went through there. I know he's hesitated for a moment and is then seen. So they're very aware of this, and this is what I was talking about, the Braum level 1. You get to scout the lane swap, and then you get to really put the pressure on here in the bottom lane.
So where's Morgan going?
Well, that is the question at the moment.
Lord Morgan has greater plans.
He's just going to stop the Sejuani from jungling, and that will be a delayed red buff take. Going to force Keria over here.
Yeah, I mean,
he's a top laner. He's not allowed to play the game, so he's a jungler now. He's you know, he's rattling the cup I was talking about before. He said, "Can I get anything anywhere?"
Yeah, just 1 CS, please, Fate. And he will not be given that. Those win rates at the bottom, definitely just from this season. Despite Faker's 1-0 on the Yone now. Can be a bit difficult to trade into a Corki. I had to play this matchup in the first game, but we did have some weirdness in the first game as well.
Jax,
how this goes,
you know, is really strong at side laning. At level 1 in the bottom lane will offer some extra damage to that turret, but it's not going to be like the end of the world. Zeus is an incredible Jace player. If you've been following his career with great interest, as we all have been, you would definitely know that. So even though it's not necessarily strong for the comp, he is very good at the pick, and of the picks left available, he opted into this over the GP. There are very few other picks that would have felt okay into the Jax here with this comp. As Keria and Owner going to continue the vertical jungle here, taking away some of those camps in the blue side, jungle around blue buff. As with lane swap protection, this is going to be the faster takedown here bottom side, but will be split between 3 with Morgan joining in. So you see the gold is not that much they're gaining. We'll see when he decides to TP back in, because with a Jason and MF and a level 1, now level 2, Jax, a little bit tough to join, a little bit tough to get in there.
Yeah. I do think that we should see Zeus TPing down here once Keria gets there. Otherwise, Keria's just going to kind of sit around. He's going to be spotted by this Scryer's Bloom. And now that's 3 plates going over to Bro.
I don't think Keria can be here.
Yeah, I mean, I was expecting a little bit of help for him, not just for the level 1 Rel to, well, run at the turret. So he's going to be zoned away from XP.
Zeus ends up staying here and is where he wants to be, but with the TP over from Morgan, he gets TP advantage, but very little else. Has a very slight XP lead, maybe like 20% of an XP bar. Looks like here. See, he's sitting at like 3/4 of level 3. If we click on Morgan, we'll know. I think he's probably sitting around like just below half, based on the push in the bottom lane. So relatively even in that regard, but a lot of gold went over to Envy in that bottom lane. 3 plates to the 1 that were taken for T1.
Yeah, that's where you get the win for the side of Bro. For T1, I mean, they were the ones that started with this lane swap, so probably just didn't want to deal with the Braum early on, which can be very difficult for the Rel. And at the end of the day, you're still feeling pretty good about this top matchup. Here comes Young Jay.
There are wards here because they expect this, so Zeus should be able to react. Taking a relatively safe back here, and with this wave crashing, he will be able to get away with it. Has TP, remember, since he was already in the top lane. So it's going to be, it looked like maybe something was going to happen, but he did his due diligence to make sure this Poppy in those early levels doesn't have the level 3 or 4 gank. And it's just going to be Young Jay heading back bottom. And we're brewing.
Yeah, it's a bit of bro and brew early on in this one. We had a lane swap, but it wasn't very interesting. It just kind of ended up pretty even, all things considered. And now we'll just continue on our merry way. Now, Young Jay is Poppy.
Yeah.
So he would like to gank.
He would like to, but Keria would not like him to, so he's going to come over here and suss this out. They don't have vision, but they're very aware of the possibility.
Spotted pretty late, actually, as Guma probably going to have to flash away from this one. Nope, just going to cleanse, but the stun comes in onto Keria, taking a bunch of poke himself.
Dodging both of those Qs, actually pretty huge. A lot of lost damage there, and a bit of a delay on concussive blows to come through. Still, huge win here for Bro, in that not only do they push them out of lane, but we'll be able to take this dragon as well, as Fate laning well into Faker again.
Yeah, just quirky things. Also, we did have Palu making his way up, so Faker eventually just realizes, well, I got to get out of here.
I don't remember if he did it in game 1 as well, but he took first strike here in game 2, so he's going to have some additional income into this melee matchup. So Corki's 2-item spike should be relatively accelerated because of this. I do like to see that. And pay no attention to the level 6 advantage here because it is Jace. But going to be the Jax being able to trade anything back as Owner shows up. As level 6 himself. Pay attention to this level 6.
He has 51 CS. He's just been power farming. And he hasn't done anything else this game, and guess what? It's a very similar first blood. This time it's over to Zeus, though, instead of Guma, like we saw in game 1.
Yeah, I mean, Owner did such a great job with the vertical jungling as Envy's in trouble.
Hey, he's taking a whole bunch of damage. They push him out before the dive even really begins.
Yeah, I just think that's done. There's no way they can make anything happen here. They lost the wave. I mean, the new wave is coming through, but with Envy being this low, it's going to be very tricky. I mean, he's not going to be the one holding the turret aggro, but still a very risky situation, especially if Guma is close to 6. I don't think he is. Envy just hit his.
Yeah, not quite. Guma's going to back away from the duo as he still has his flash. As now the engage comes on in. Guma is going to be stunned and eventually goes down, but this is a lot that they have to commit to here. They do just trade 1 for 1. I could say that it is good for Bro, though, as it is just their support, I believe, that did go down. Yep, yeah. Braum, and it was Guma as well in the trade.
Exactly, so taking away the AD carry, taking away his farm. Looking to continue to put that pressure on. Just 2 plates left in that bottom lane. I think the last sliver of health there on that second plate is there, so he should be able to get that relatively quickly. Morgan also will grab a plate here in the top lane. This game is very action-packed, actually, as we're going to go to a replay at a scary moment. Yeah, Owner vertical jungled really well, and while we saw, you know, Youngjae spending a ton of time in the bottom side to try to put that pressure on, get the dragon, etc., he ends up hitting level 6, and this ends up being a huge opportunity for him to ult and kill the Jax. Down here, good flash to come through. Stun comes on to the Braum, so he has to tank that extra turret shot, but even still, kill does go over to Envy, and it's onto the AD carry, so absolutely worth here for the side of the Bros. 1,000 gold behind, however. You look at the JCS, you look at the farm in the jungle. That's where a lot of that lead comes from.
Yeah, also all those plates in the top side. I mean, yeah, there were 3 plates that did go over, but they were kind of split between support and top and Envy, whereas Zeus is able to get a bunch, I think, solo up on the top side, or at least, you know, only split a couple of them and then was able to get a couple. So definitely feels like, you know, a bit of extra gold. Also, you like where the gold is on this Jace.
Yeah,
Jace does have a pretty massive lead up there.
Less useful to have it on the Sejuani, but still relevant, as he does have his Zeke's already completed. And did have that level 6 for the gank, as this is scary.
Yeah, just trying to face check into this one. Now Poppy and Braum are very impactful, but the door finally gets held here, but it's still a ton of damage going into everybody as they just stand in it behind the door. But man, they did quite a lot. As now Envy trying to peel here as we do get the flash away from Youngjae.
Very scary moment there on both sides. Keria does go down, but it's a trade as so much damage does get put into the Bro roster there on the Bro bottom side. And the Braum holds the door, but it's not going to be able to block all of that bullet time. So a lot of pressure in this bottom lane. They really desperately want that final plate. As Palu's going to show up. And then will unceremoniously leave.
Huh, where have we seen this before? An MF just getting plates by himself.
Yeah, and that is Zeus getting plates by himself in the top lane. Jace will get all of them.
Yeah. And, well, a little bit of a flurry of attacks in the mid lane. But at the end of the day, this 1v1 is going to happen once again. Guma doesn't have his ult, actually. He's taking a lot of damage already as Envy is looking to take this trade, but eventually does elect to back away. Naked Rain comes down. Guma's still very low on mana. And And Envy might look to push the issue here, as here comes Palu looking to land a Q of his own, and it's just going to be Envy and also an assist given over to Palu.
Yeah, Envy just sees blood in the water there, knows Guma doesn't have ult, and he could just weave his W's through the minions and then hit those auto attacks as Envy. He get punished.
Yeah, Envy going for the cleanse as another stun is going to land, and that is just easily collected by Zeus, who is quite fast on the chase. As now Palu's like, wait, where is everybody? Why am I here alone? What happened? Where am I? He is dead. That's a double kill now for Zeus, who has 3 in the game.
Oh, where am I? Where are we?
It's all very confusing.
I told you guys the brew was coffee, so, you know, I feel like I should know where I am, but I'm looking at the game state here, and I'm not 100% sure. Zeus is getting more plate gold. It was only split between him and Guma for most of those plate takes topside, since Keria went bottom early, so he got a lot of the gold, whereas it was a 3-way split for Envy and crew in the bottom lane. So he picked up a ton of money there, finishes the last plate, gets the turret. And we're going to go back to this play here. As you can see, the door comes up, but he still takes a ton of damage, and it wasn't set at the initial part of the fight. A lot of summoners have to be expended here, as Envy almost is able to maybe get something back. But then over here, let's see what he has to say during this play, because he knows he can W through.
That's what he said. He said, I'm fighting.
And they're all going to check and see if Keria is rotating over. You can see on the map they have no vision of where Keria is, so very scary.
And Envy plays this very well. You never want to just sit in range of the MF autos. You want to be in and out as the Ezreal with a lot more mobility. And so, excellently played by him. He gets a little help from Palu, who basically just picks up a free assist. But then this happens.
Yeah, it looks like he just didn't know that Zeus was here, and ends up just walking up and taking a shock blast to the face. And the rest of T1 are rotating down. Perhaps a lack of communication on what was going on the map there and where the players were missing. As it's 3 kills for the Jace, and Morgan is really struggling.
I mean, he just basically doesn't exist in this game. It's been really rough for Morgan. Like, he was down there, he was helping push, and he's like, all right, now I'm going to lean against the Jace. And ever since then, it's been really rough. So now we get another engage. It's another Chemtexel. Man, is Ox sleeping over there? Like, what's going on? Very sad. Anyway, we'll see if either of the teams care about it this time.
I think that they will not care that much about it, especially considering it's a 1 Drake split apiece. But, you know, T1 have Bro exactly where they want him. I mean, this Jace, we were talking about how it doesn't suit the comp, but it's so far ahead that it can kind of just do whatever it wants, because it just takes away like a third of anyone's health bar when a Shock Blast connects. And as you can see, a big group up here for Bro, as they are going to be able to guarantee this turret. Morgan is just being left on an island in the top side, and doesn't have a turret there. As going to see any commitment to anything here. The observers are scaring us with the vision toggle. Is somebody hiding behind?
Yeah, I mean, Keria was there. I don't think he is there.
Oh, he is!
He's still here! The long-term gambit, as this is a Corki with flash, so we'll see if he can get out of this one. Yeah, he just, well, presses his flash ability. Yeah, really taking height on Bush to the next level.
Yeah. Well, see if Owner can stop this back. Does have flash. Nah. Maybe if he flash Arctic Assault Speed, I guess he doesn't know exactly when the recall was channeled. But not worth that. If you flash miss that, then you're like, oh man, that looked really silly. Be happy with the flash they got in the bottom lane and also the force out. So guess what? Another turret for Zeus in my game 2 of Bro versus T1 round 2 2024 LCK Summer.
They just don't really have a good answer except bringing the whole team over to stop it, which this time they have. Basically the whole team. 4 members. And Zeus just runs away. Flash comes in from Palu, and now Baker's going to get a big engage. Does get hit away, but now has to come back. Very awkward for him, but he still has his flash, and now they're looking to turn it. As the MF ult is going to get some nice damage down and really just taxi the rest of Bro away from this fight. As T1 still on the chase here. Zeus is gigantic. Really hit the shot blast. There it is. Goes on to the Jax as Morgan. Another one to fall.
I mean, this game is essentially just a wash. I mean, it's a tough matchup for the Jax, but with the extra resources Zeus got and those early kills, I mean, I'm not saying top gap, but I am saying in terms of gold, there is a pretty big gap, right? And he is just so incredibly relevant with 5 kills this early on into the game.
In this game, you know, you could say top gap.
Well, I mean, it wasn't a fair 1v1 for a lot of it, so I don't want to throw shade on the Morgan, but I feel like Zeus is obviously having a much larger impact, has much more gold, and ends up being a huge taunt button here. If you get Zeus out of here and you save the turret and you don't have vision, you probably got to stop chasing because the rest of the team will be coming down. Your Corki isn't here.
Yeah. And you mentioned in the draft, Wolf, that you go for the Braum, it feels good in the lane, it feels good against what T1 have, but you really lack engage. I mean, I guess you have Poppy, but you see how they're trying to engage in these fights. It's engage Braum and engage Jax. It's kind of lackluster.
It just felt super easy to, oh boy, NB.
Yeah, he's in a bit of trouble. Oh boy, Carrier comes out of left field and down he will go as Faker gonna lock him up, and Palu also on the run, getting taxied down himself. And Shock Blast is going to miss.
T1 just has such great map reads. They have so much experience, right? And they are a top team in the LCK, even if they have stumbled a little bit. And by a little bit, I mean they lost 0-2 to Nongshim in just one series. No shade on losing to Gen G, because everybody's lost to Gen G. But
it feels like maybe the one person that Morgan could kill is Faker, and now he's got some help from Fate to come on over. Faker's so low, and he will be taken out with that empowered auto. Morgan super low himself, just gonna walk it off, but now he's just gonna disengage with that one and say, well, we're just happy with the kill.
Yeah, it's Poppy ulted away. I thought perhaps he was gonna go for the snipe play with his ultimate. And every time Bro have to look for one of these picks, they have to use more resources than T1 have to use. So look at this. Zeus pushing top. Well,
oh, that's not gonna work. Nice try, I guess, but yeah, I don't know. He's gonna flash, and again, engage Braum isn't a thing. We know this.
Yeah,
and they're not gonna extend down the lane.
Unfortunately, not going to be a play that they can make there. He has the empowered recall as well from the Herald take moments ago that now is no longer eye exclusive. You just see moments like this where Envy's trying to use his Qs to poke Guma, and we don't have more people on the map over here. And they try to go for the play on the Faker top side, right? And then they end up losing out on the mid turret. And, okay, you're trying to make the play on the Zeus, but then other things are happening elsewhere. Zeus doesn't get picked, right? Zeus is putting pressure on the top side of the map as well this entire time. So yeah, you got Faker, but you lose a lot. And, Morgan almost dies here. They do have to use the Poppy ultimate as well. They're going to be able to get this bounty on this turret here in the top lane. But the gold lead here is just so massive. And they even get this inner in the bottom. I mean, yeah. Every time you look at Bro doing a thing, T1 are doing an equal or greater thing on the other side of the map.
Yeah. Do you think T1 goes for the Drake this time? For some reason, Morgan's just going to let that one charge. I don't really know why.
I mean, it was fairly dark jungle, but the champions in that jungle probably couldn't have killed him. So
it's pretty rare for pro teams to hang around that spot 18 minutes into the game as well.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, T1 just going to take this dragon.
Extreme safety for Morgan.
It's not great that that charge does go off. It does mean the inhibitor is more exposed to a very, very strong Jace who could potentially be in the sideline. Has his Brutalizer now online. Is going to fully index into lethality now. Has his transformation. Zeus basically two-shots anyone with Empowered Shock Blast. You get hit by one of those, and then Guma ults, and Paulo doesn't have his door ready. That person dies. That's it's a sizable gold advantage here in the top lane.
It's it's pretty decent.
It's about like twice as much of the majority of the gold leads that T1 had in game one and on one player.
There's still also that massive jungle CS diff. Also just the kill and the extra assist for the side of Owner. I mean, he's just basically been power farming, and whenever there was an opportunity, he went for it. And other than that, he's just kind of power farming, and he's very far ahead because of it. And he's going to be extremely tanky in these fights. Looking for his Warmogs next.
Looking for this turret here now is Zeus. Another turret for the Jace. More money. And
more money.
More money means more items. Actually doesn't mean more problems in League of Legends.
Yeah. You kinda have to hold all those items though. You gotta juggle them. It's really awkward when you're just trying to run around and play the game. So maybe that's the problems, right?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think they're carrying them. I think they're actually just a representation of stats.
Where do they store those items, Wolf?
In the tab screen.
The tab screen. And he's looking for a way to store his health somewhere else.
Yeah, he does not have a BT this time, so he's not going to be able to get that back.
Definitely third item.
Yeah, I would say so.
100%.
Does he get a third item in this game?
That's another question. That was a nice slow, actually. Make it rain onto 3 people. Guma is very much out of position, but so is Youngjae. He's just going to be taken down, and Guma just blasts away. Meanwhile, the rest of Bro is just on the run as in comes Keria, gets an engage on a 2, but the Braum is doing a good job on the disengage. Not going to help out Envy here as he goes down to Faker's max range ultimate, going to land it this time. And that is 3 kills over to the side of T1 as they are really running away with this game too.
They may have lost to Nongshim. They may have shaken their fans' faith a little bit, but in game 1 of this series, they were able to lock it up in a late game team fight on an Elder. Some good decision making leading up to it. In game 2, it feels like T1 is just back on the horse, Valdez. It looks like this team is crushing Bro the way you would have expected them to do if you looked back, if you turned back time to before that Gen G series, before the Nongshim series. Yeah. This is the T1 dominance that people expected when they saw the strength of schedule. And a win here for T1 all but guarantees, effectively, that they will be going to playoffs. It's not 100%, but it's like 99.
Yeah,
and
they're just so far ahead in terms of game score.
We were a little bit concerned after the loss to Nongshim, and it wasn't just the fact that they got 2-0'd by Nongshim, but it was the way in which they lost that gave people pause. But this is T1 back to business, back to strength here. As Keria, back-to-back games with Rels with some great engages. Faker teleports into the fight. It's a max range ultimate there onto a flashless Envy. And with the gold lead they have, the skirmishes that Bro are looking for are just putting them further and further behind. Baron is up here for T1. They've taken it. They've got that buff, and there's not that many turrets left to take on the map, to be frank with you, Valdez. Yeah. They're going for inhibitors now.
And this time in this game, you know, Bro, they hit a similar, oh no. I thought he was out. I was like, man, Fate, you're okay, right? Okay, Flash away, actually, he's playing it very well.
I mean, this teleport, though, means...
Goes back in, and actually, Saves just gonna die. It's 1,000 gold to Corki, but meanwhile...
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. The TP means, guess what? Inhib's down. This is Bro, like, every time you think they got a thing, T1 got more things. Again, Valdez.
That has kind of been the name.
That's this game. It's just they're getting out macroed because they're so far behind.
Yeah, they hit their spikes. They couldn't do anything with it. They don't have the Rakan for the engage. They don't even have the Sejuani for more reliable gauge than the Poppy, like they did in game 1. Definitely feels like they took a couple of steps down in this draft, did Bro. And we're seeing kind of the outcome of it. I mean, alongside of just, you know, the gameplay and the execution.
At least the gold is picked up. Like, they get 1,000 gold to shut down on Zeus, so that's pretty huge. And they get 800 gold onto Morgan, who has basically no money. When he does end up taking that bountied inner turret in the top side. Fate plays this well. They do commit the teleport, so Zeus incredibly well played here, but nothing else he could have really done there. 1,000 gold goes over to the Corki, 800 gold goes over to Morgan in the follow-up. To trade for the inhibitor, though, and that means T1 is always going to have Prio on the bottom side. Soul Point is potentially on the cards.
Oh, whoa! Did Bro even realize? They're like, oh crap, we gotta get out of here. What do we do? Giga Chad goes for the engage, I guess, as now the front line is just being bombarded by MF as everybody comes in. Faker now is going to join the fight, looking for the ult. Everybody backs away, and now Morgan's just going to be bullied in this front line, taken out as a lot of low health bars. See if T1 do want to continue on this. Looks like they do. Envy gonna dodge the shock blast. And the Siege kind of lackluster from here.
Yeah, I mean, the secondary front line is Guma's ult, and he kept them at bay with that one. They did not have a fun time in the bullet time, and now with the teleport through, T1 looking to take a second inhibitor down and potentially even more. Super minions in the bottom lane, 2 of them stacked up here. They may be able to Siege to end.
Yeah, I mean, Zeus is level 15, and he's just kind of parading through the base right now, like just waiting for the mid-wave to come in and seeing if anyone's stuck around with low health. Oh, now, okay, there's somebody with low health. He just healed from the fountain, but now he's low health from your shock blast. But either way, T1, they get the inhibitor. They don't have Baron. They're not going to overstay their welcome. But Bro really want to get something out of this, but they just will not be able to.
I mean, T1 has nothing left to take. It's like a Chemtech Soul Point. There's no more turrets. Yeah, he almost dies. Well, there's no more turrets for them to grab. Like, besides a top inhibitor, which is basically dead. So T1 are like, well, can we end? We kill somebody, we end. We can't. I guess we'll take the chem tag. As 2 inhibitors down is going to be full map control. This is a wild setup here because they want to get Youngjae into position to maybe get Morgan into Counter-Strike range. This ult missing for Owner is a bit of a concern as the Poppy ult is coming through. Unfortunately here, the bullet time is the real front line, and it looks like maybe they got Owner low, Carrier low, they can front to back this. Morgan goes on to Guma, but he's got the cleanse. And that's the end of the fight. Like, Fate's like, oh, can we clean this up? Envy's like holding his finger over the E key and wisely decides to E backwards as they end up losing the fight, losing their second inhibitor, and losing Soul Point.
It's just a very awkward fight. Like, you can see that Youngjae was holding on to the Poppy ult. He really wanted to verdict someone away, and then it just timed out. And he's like, oh. And then Morgan goes in. It's like, oh no, this just doesn't look good.
It's disjointed, and the
they
bullet
just
time
run face first into an MF.
Yeah, the bullet time just says, all right, that's fun and all, but like you're all dying now.
Well, the bros gave it their all, and they're not done yet. They've got a TP behind T1.
I mean, Faker is trying to end the game. Meanwhile,
this is one way, I guess, to engage, as they are going to get Harriet out. That doesn't really do much. Here comes Faker. Is going to find the backline, just assassinates Envy. That is how far ahead they are, as finally Morgan comes in, but even MF, Guma's just going to ult him in the face and just put an end to this game number 2, as bros have suffered enough, and T1 are back on the horse. They get 2-0'd, but now they 2-0 bro, and they're looking back in form as they will take this 2-0 tonight.
2-0. Game 1 a little rough around the edges. Game 2, a little bit more fun here from T1, but a much more dominant performance as Zayas locks in the Jace for the matchup into the Jax. It was the one part of the draft we were like, you know, will it work with the comp? It turns out he was the comp. All of it, all of the money, all of the damage.
We talked about it so much in Draft Wolf. It's like, you just got to win lane and win game.
Yeah.
And guess what they did?
He won lane in one game. He killed turrets. He took plates. And he had so much money that we didn't get to see the subtleties of what a T1 team fight could look like. We'll move on from that. But, you know, the KR casters got to get ready for the desk as well, or the KR spacers. But look, T1 bouncing back in a huge way here, going to be great for the confidence. Going up to 9 wins, again, all but guarantees playoffs for them. It is a very bizarre scenario that has to occur for them to not make it, as well as their last 2 opponents definitely feel beatable in BNK and Kwangdong. And T1, I feel like finally giving the fans a sign of reassurance that this team could once again make that deep playoff run and challenge Shenji in the finals, as it always feels like we have prophesized here in the LCK. We're a ways away from it, but the road has kind of been paved here a little bit.
I mean, at least they, as you mentioned before, they get themselves a playoff spot. It's not 100%, but at this point, it would basically require very particular outcomes in a row for them to somehow be knocked out. They're ahead in game score. They're ahead in series score now. And, you know, this is a very interesting season. Maybe we don't get the Genji T1 final, but maybe we do. It really just depends on T1's form, I think. A lot of our top teams outside of Genji are looking a bit rickety, you know? It's not a solid foundation. So I am very curious to see how it's all going to pan out. And maybe it is just Genji T1.
Could be. I'm not ready to predict it until we see what T1 looks like in playoffs. And
could be a totally different look.
And obviously
this is still bro. We need to we still need to have the nameplates on a bit.
We did also mention their easy strength of schedule a few weeks ago. We're like, oh, the last few matches will be pretty simple. But that was before BNK and Kwangdong kind of had their resurgence. We were saying that when Kwangdong was in the midseason collapse. We were saying that when BNK seemed very binary, very predictable. Now we're moving into those final weeks going, okay, well, they look stronger than T1 has looked in their last series against Nongshim. And then after this one, I'm not yet convinced that T1 are back in full form, but they look way better than they did at the start of this week.
Yeah, you see that bro try to send it one final time, and that they did. Listening to the palms. Just calling out, you know, Morgan's behind them. Jax. Penta, but they're like, there's no Penta. So, yeah, still having a bit of fun at the end of the game, which is nice to see. thank you, says Guma, I think.
I thought it was Kyria saying that Zeus is so cool, and then he said thank you, but I'm not sure.
Maybe that is what it was.
It's hard with the mask on to tell who's talking.
I mean, to be honest, for me, Zeus was the cool guy in this one. Fate did actually an insane amount of damage.
Fate played super well. I feel like in an even game state, this was definitely a winnable game for Bro with the comp that they had. I did like their draft better. Lack of engage, though, really hurts you when you're massively behind. Jace is doing a ton of poke. The Braum can't block everything, Valdez. T1, though, good sign here. I think for Bro, this was the expected outcome. You're not going to feel too bad about losing to T1, but I think all the Bro leavers had a little bit of hope that maybe they could follow suit with Nongshim.
Yeah.
It wasn't going to happen today, though.
They wanted to join Nongshim, but it wasn't meant to be. And it's fine, because they still had a great time, and they still got to play some League of Legends. That's all the Bros really care about. So we're done here, guys, on the cast. T1 with the 2-0 tonight. Let's head it over to the space to break it down.
Thank you very much, guys. This is Ji-sun for the POG interview translation, joined by Guma Yusi and Zeus after their victory up against OK Savings Bank Brion, ending their losing streak. Congratulations on the win, guys. Guma Yusi, with this 2-0 win, T1 ended the losing streak. How do you feel? I was very, very sad after losing the previous match, but I think it's a good bounce back in terms of our performance, you know. A clean 2-0 win will be a huge boost for us. What about you, Zeus? Same, you know. Losing the previous match was definitely not easy, so I was not feeling, you know, my best. But it feels great to pick up a win here and also pick up a POG after a pretty long time. I think T1 must have had a lot of feedback and discussions after the losing streak. What did you focus on? A lot of things to discuss internally. But we're just trying to seek for the best direction for us, you know. And Zeus, we had Yone for Faker and Silas for you. These aren't typically favorite picks for T1, so what was the reason behind those two picks? First off, Yone recently got a lot of buffs, and Faker has been practicing Yone in scrims a lot. And Silas, just looking at the enemy's comp, as long as Silas can get through lane, he can pop up in the later phase. And then that Silas pick definitely worked very well. And Guma, you have been using Misfortune a lot recently. Why do you prefer Misfortune these days? MF also got a buff recently, and LPL. It's actually being very prioritized. Even some teams pick it in the first phase of the pick and ban, and we tried it in the practice games, and we thought it's pretty viable, so we wanted to give it a shot today. And here's a replay where MF was able to pick up early kills and scale very fast. What was the main focus in this game as MF? So I got to pick up multiple kills early on, so I knew that we have a lot of priority in the bottom lane. So we wanted to add more pressure up against the enemy's Ezreal in order to, you know, keep pushing the lane. Also, in the first game, we had lane swap happening on all three lanes, and as a Misfortune, you were just standing in the mid lane to support your teams. Were you expecting a POG there? Well, I am not on the POG leaderboard, so I was not expecting a POG win here today, but I figured that I was the POG, and I was pretty happy. And then, game 2, Zeus, you picked Jace up against Jax. And then T1 opted into a lane swap. So what kind of strategy did you guys kind of go for? Jace is a champion that has to win lane, you know. He's not supposed to lose out in the laning phase, and also we were aware that Bro's early level comp is pretty strong, so we were pretty much ready for the reaction play, and I think we were able to kind of play out the laning phase really well in the end. And then I want to take a look at this replay where you were able to make a perfect cover to the bottom lane and pick up double kill. So it was a little bit risky in the beginning, but Faker already made a call that's going in for a TP to help the team, and then we were able to kind of absorb the aggro and then reinitiate the team fight. And Jace, you definitely is the skin owner of that champion, and recently we are seeing Jace here and there in the current meta. When is the perfect time for Jace to be picked? It depends on the champion matchup, you know. Looking at the laning phase, you know, you have to be aware if he can win the lane in order to win the side lanes and exert more pressure. And then later today, after the POG interview, you and Faker are scheduled to appear on the Lolly Night today. I'm also going to be joining as a special guest, so we're going to have some fun. Are you ready for it? Well, I'll do my best. Any words to the fans to make sure they tune in? Make sure to tune in to the Lolly Night after a little bit once the stream goes off. Kumayusi, you're going to stay tuned as well? Yeah, everyone, don't miss that. Haha. And with today's win, T1's playoff chances have risen to 98%, and your remaining regularly season opponents are Kwangdong Freaks and BNK Fear X. This will be a very important matches for T1. What are your resolutions for the playoffs? I think our main focus is improving our performance, you know, because playoffs is just around the corner. So I know our fans are pretty much worried about our form right now. So I want to focus on our performance in order to become stronger and come back stronger for playoffs. The remaining matches are up against our potential playoffs opponents, and it's our last week to kind of bounce back and improve and step up as a team. So I want to promise that we will come back stronger next week. And this will be the end of the interview from the T1 POGs, and back to the space. Thank you.